Hello everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you that show up in any capacity. And now at this point that extends into the support for the weekly YouTube videos that we have coming out. So every week on YouTube we have the live meditation as well as the weekly overview video that is much more comprehensive than this meditation. So I like doing it this way because I don't feel like I have to cram so much into the talk with the meditation. I feel like I can have it be much more specific and just kind of geared towards the energy that I'm trying to lean into, rather than feeling like I have to talk about everything that is, everything that comes to my mind with the aspects and the things that are going on. So I appreciate all of you that show up in any capacity, whether it's live, whether it's replays, interacting with videos, posts, all of that helps so much. Subscribing if you haven't already, sharing the channel and the pages with those that you think may also enjoy it. And yeah, I just have much appreciation and gratitude towards all of you. So just want to express that a little bit more today. So I'm going to go ahead and put the intention up here. For those of you who haven't seen it, the intention is always released on Saturday, so that way you can sit with it yourself and just see what comes up. So here's our intention for this week on the screen here. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. So I'm going to sit with that intention for just a moment here, whether or not this is the first time that you've heard the intention. Just seeing what comes up when you think of those words, when you hear them, any feelings or emotions that it evokes. So we have a few things to talk about this week. We have the solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. It's the last of that cycle, so this is a initiation and a new beginning, but within a culmination. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about, as well as a few other aspects. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the intention for now and to run through the aspects. Still have that huge focus with Aries and Pisces, so I'm going to just put the chart on the screen and just quickly walk through the transits that we are looking at here this week. Again, much more information on the weekly video, so this is definitely not comprehensive by any means. So I'm going to go ahead and put the chart up here. And right now we are looking at the real-time clock here on Solar Fire. So this is the chart of the moment specific to my location where I am at the time of the live meditation. So you'll see that we have Libra rising, and most of our action that we are talking about this week is in the sign of Aries, which is in the 7th house in this chart, and Pisces, which is in the 6th house in this chart. So that's what we are focusing on here. Maybe if we start, if you're not used to looking at the chart, maybe after a few weeks of me putting it up here, you start to kind of notice some things. Maybe some of the glyphs, even just a couple of them start to pop out at you. Maybe it feels a little bit less overwhelming. That's the goal, is just to introduce the chart to those that may not be used to looking at it, or just more practice for those that are, because it can be very overwhelming at first. So the major things that we are going to talk about this week focuses on the Sun, which is currently at 3 degrees of Aries, Mercury, which is at 5 degrees of Aries, and Venus, which is at 2 degrees of Aries, all in the 7th house there. And then if we look down towards the cusp to the 6th house, we find Pisces, and at 29 degrees right there where my cursor is, we have Neptune at 29 degrees. So those are the planets that we are focusing on this week. As we come into this week, Venus has just made her cazimi. We talked about that last week. That aspect came through exact yesterday on Saturday. If we take this chart, animate it, and bring it forward to tomorrow, to Monday, we will notice that Mercury comes into a conjunction with the Sun, or cazimi. So this is the resetting moment for Mercury that we are going to talk about here this week. And then as Mercury continues retrograde, it's going to come through the last few degrees of Aries. Mercury is going to make a quick sextile to Pluto. So we have Mercury at 3 degrees of Aries in the 7th house. We have Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius in the 5th house down here. So that's a quick little sextile. We also have one coming through today and tomorrow with the Sun at 3 degrees. So we have a couple little Pluto aspects. Still focusing on Mercury making its way through the last few degrees here. And then it gets ready, Venus, let's see, so then we see Venus is moving retrograde as well, right next to Mercury here. Venus is going to come into 0 degrees of Aries, and then by Thursday, Venus moves back into the sign of Pisces, retrograde. Coming into a conjunction with Neptune at 29 degrees. So we have Mercury coming into contact with the Sun, Mercury cazimi. We have Venus moving back into the sign of Pisces, coming into contact with Neptune. And then if we go forward, we see Mercury continues to retrograde back through the very beginning of Pisces or Aries, moving towards Pisces by Saturday. So through Friday into Saturday, Mercury moves into the sign of Pisces just before. I'm just going to go forward a few hours so that way you can see them coming into contact. Now we're down in the 4th house, so if you move down to the 4th house at the bottom of the chart here, you will see Mercury and Neptune both at 29 degrees. So both Venus and Mercury are going to make a conjunction with Neptune after they cross that barrier from Aries back into the sign of Pisces. So these are a few things that we have going on that lead us right into the solar eclipse that we have coming through on Saturday. So if I bring this forward a few more hours, we will see, backwards a few more hours. We will see that the Sun and the Moon gather together at 9 degrees of Aries. So at the moment in this chart, it's in the 1st house here. So you will see the solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries early Saturday morning coming through. So we have some transformations that are happening this week. Let me get rid of the chart here. Bring the intention back up so you can see that. We have a couple different transformations and transfigurations that are happening this week. Venus just came across the Sun in cazimi, so having that resetting moment. Anytime that you have a planet come into contact with the Sun, there is a moment of resetting and a new phasal change for that planet, specifically the inner planets. After the cazimi, yesterday we have Mercury coming into cazimi through the beginning of this week, so we have a resetting moment within just a couple days for both Mercury and for Venus. So, you know, this retrograde, the cazimi is part of the retrograde. It's part of the reworking, and it's the resetting moment that comes through. So these two planets have started going backwards and started reworking, revisiting things. Maybe things are kind of turning a little bit wonky for you. Maybe there's things that are coming up that you notice that you need your attention that you didn't realize needed it before. The moment of cazimi is an empowering moment of enlightenment, of seeing, of knowledge. Sometimes this is where the path starts to be able to become clear of where we need to go. After feeling a little bit of tenseness and a little bit of held down sometimes, or feeling like things are a little bit chaotic, things still may be chaotic after the cazimi, but it's a moment of seeing and a moment of illumination coming through here for both of these planets from the tail end of last week into the beginning of this week. With Mercury, it has to do with our mental processes and the way that we think about things. Mercury is going to be shifting phasal positions. So we switch from, was it evening star to morning star here. So we have a fresh perspective coming through here with Mercury rising before the Sun. The morning star phase is considered to be the more youthful phase, so things are new, things are initiating. There is a youthfulness and an enthusiasm to experience something different, to shift and do something a little bit differently. So maybe if we feel a little bit held down before the gazimi, afterwards we start to see even just a smidge of a path of which way we could potentially go to get through whatever the retrograde is bringing up for you here. And then both planets are going to move back across that sign boundary from Aries into Pisces this week. So I feel like this is a big key part of this week. Both of these planets coming back across that 29 degrees Pisces where Neptune is sitting, coming into contact with Neptune in the sign of Pisces for the last time in our lives. Neptune has been in Pisces for over a decade now, so every time we've gotten a conjunction with Neptune and Pisces for the last quite a while, last 10 to 13 years, it's been in the sign of Pisces. So it's been in the place of Venus's exaltation. It's been in a place where Neptune is very in tune and does very well. It feels very... there's a lot of resonance between Neptune and the sign of Pisces. Modern astrology will attribute Neptune as the modern ruler of the sign of Pisces, so there's a lot of affinities and a lot of connection between these planets. Venus in the sign of Pisces is very much at home too. It's the sign of Venus's exaltation. So other than Venus's home signs of Taurus and Libra, Pisces is the next sign where Venus does the most well with its with the things that Venus likes to do. So we have this connection here with Neptune in the sign of Pisces, which Neptune on its own is a creative and inspiring energy. Put it in the sign of Pisces, and we are emotionally and intuitively connected to whatever and everything that's out there. It's connecting to our own heart space. It's connecting with other people. It's connecting with the divine source and creator. It's connecting with that universal energy. Pisces is a sign that is reflective and cumulative. So it looks at all of the things and considers all of the different parts and all of the connections. So we've had a special connection here with the conjunctions that we have approximately once a year or so, just over once a year, with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Same thing with Mercury. Mercury and Neptune in the sign of Pisces is very otherworldly, very imaginative, and very flowing, very receptive and very reflective, very much willing to consider all parts and all perspectives and all points of view. The conjunctions that we're going to get for these planets in the sign of Aries are still inspiring, they are still creative, but there is a different force behind it. Instead of water, a feminine water sign, it is now a masculine fire sign. We go from the sign of Jupiter to the sign of Mars. So you have a very different feel where the conjunctions in the sign of Pisces may be a little bit more free-flowing and a little go with the flow. There's emotions and there's feelings there, and there's, wanting to be held and wanting things to be a little bit unifying. Now in the sign of Aries, the passions and the things that inspire us, the things that we truly deeply believe in. Neptune has a lot to deal with our beliefs and the things that we feel connected to as far as beliefs and moralities go. So now things are a little bit more forceful. Things are a little bit more quick to initiate, a little more quick to burn into a fire, and a little more quick to burn up and to blaze forward. So it's a little bit louder, it's a little less subtle, and it's a little bit more direct, a little bit more extrovert rather than introverted here. So these connections that we have coming across this week are the last time that we are going to get these. This is leading up to the solar eclipse that we have in the sign of Aries coming forward at the end of this week. So like I said, that solar eclipse that we have is the last in this cycle of the eclipses that we've had across the Aries Libra axis. That axis of eclipses will be fully closed after the Libra eclipse that we have, the Libra full moon that we have coming up in a couple weeks. So this is a point of starting, initiating, a new beginning. However, it's the last push to initiate something that has already had some sort of history. So the things that we are starting here are not brand new. They're things that have been in the sphere for a little while, or have at least been kind of in the ether somewhere. But now there's this one last push, like, okay, now is definitely the time for you to do it. You have held back, you have, double checked things, you have reworked and tried to make up excuses if you have, or whatever. Now is the time to go forward for whatever reason that you have not before. So we have this huge push to initiate, but at the same time, we have planets that are moving back into the sign of Pisces. So this week feels like within this amidst of all of this shifting into Aries and all of shifting into all of this initiatory energy, the solar eclipse is definitely wanting to start something kind of quickly. We have this moment, or these planets that are at the same time slowing down, not only through the retrograde, through their speed slowing down, but also through moving from the sign of Aries into the sign of Pisces, which is going to slow them down and give them moments to reconnect and reflect during this time of creation. So it feels like in this time of go, 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 things shifting, we're getting a little bit of time here to slow down, think, reconnect, recollect, and then continue moving forward. As these planets move across Neptune, it feels like they're going to be re-inspired in some way. So the retrogrades starting in the sign of Aries initiates change for many people very, very quickly. Things have started to shift quick, or at least we start to see the pathway. We are initiating things, we are courageous and we are brave, we are doing things that we wouldn't necessarily have pictured ourselves doing before or considering them. Or maybe if we're not doing the things, then they're at least coming up into our sphere to like, these are the other things that, I'm desiring or whatnot. So those things start to spin with a Aries retrograde pretty quickly. I have Mercury retrograde in Aries natally, so I realize how quickly that retrograde Mercury in Aries can spin pretty quickly, and it can shift, it can shift its motion here pretty quick. So if it feels like it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, if it feels like there's a lot of moving parts and moving pieces, this may be the time, even though we have the solar eclipse coming, to kind of reconnect and recollect your thoughts at the same time. As the eclipse comes through here, we will have both Mercury and Venus sitting, either right with or within a degree of Neptune. So there is the ability to reimagine and re-inspire and rekindle a creative connection of some sort of emotional connection that is there, and we feel it and we know that it's been there, but maybe it doesn't feel like we're tapping right into it. So now if things started to like shift and change kind of quickly, this is a moment to slow down, recollect our breath in the midst of all of the creation and things going forward. I really like the reimagine focus initiates within the intention here, because imagination in Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Venus and Neptune in Pisces can create beautiful magic. Neptune and Mercury in the sign of Pisces can let the mind roll into very creative spaces. So some sort of desire or passion or inspiration can be reignited if it feels like we've been like working hard and there's a little bit of burnout and we need to like reconnect somewhere. Feels like we have that type of energy coming through here this week, and that is tied into the solar eclipse here as well. So it's like starting something new and initiating in an Aryan type way, but taking the time to slow down at the same time. And with the solar eclipse being the last in the cycle, it feels like that should be appropriate for this. Like, we're initiating something, but there's some history to it. So it's like, okay, I have the tools, I have the resources, I can go into this a little bit more calculated while still having that forward moving Aries energy at the same time, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to some of you. So it's a little bit of a push and pull this week, but it feels like it can be very re-inspiring and kind of bring back the magic in a way to get us through the rest of these transformations that are going through. Neptune, by the time we meet next week, will be ingressing into the sign of Aries. It will have a retrograde back into the sign of Pisces, but we are entering a new era of Neptune in Aries rather than Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So when Mercury and Venus exit Aries to move back into Pisces and then re-enter Aries, Aries is going to be a different space than it was before because Neptune's going to be there. So, excuse me, the interactions that these planets are going to have in the sign of Aries are going to be different because Neptune is going to be there. The topics of our lives that the different houses rule, so like say Aries is your first house, Neptune is going to be there when these planets have come in, when they come back in. Neptune is not there right now, so it's going to be a different feel, it's going to be a different environment. So there's this reimagining focus that is initiated this week, and then there's new configurations that are happening. Aries is not going to be the same sign. It's still going to be Aries because it still has all of the qualifications and attributes that Aries does, but it's going to have Neptune there. So anything that moves through the sign of Aries is going to have Neptune co-present in that sign, and that changes the flavor of things. So Venus and Mercury are stepping into a whole new world because they are going through their own death and rebirth themselves, as well as the fact that once they enter back into Aries in direct motion, things will be a lot different. Planets are making sextiles to Pluto this week, so there is a hidden layer of transformation, helpful transformation. Death and rebirth is a quality of Pluto. Usually you see that more with like the conjunction, opposition, squares. This is usually more of a helpful energy. So it's like you can still have that transformation, but it's like less cathartic and more helpful. So more it's like, I don't know, I'm picturing more like instead of like the phoenix that burns to ashes and then is reborn from the ashes. So like you have that that difficultness. I'm thinking more like Cinderella that's transformed from like in the raggy outfit into the beautiful ball gown, and like just how it just kind of like lifts her up and just transforms her into something a little bit more a little bit more beautiful, something a little bit more Piscean or Neptune and Pisces looking, now that I'm thinking about it. So kind of like that, where it's just like a helpful transformation rather than like having to go through the burning that Pluto often brings. So that's what I'm looking at for this week. I feel like we have a special energy, like I said, because this is the last time these planets are going to make a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. It's a special place for Venus, it's a special place for Neptune, and Mercury coming into contact there makes it even more special. So that's what we have for the astrology of this week. I think reconnecting this week is a good place for us to start. So just kind of broadly putting that out. The card that came up today was the Ace of Cups reversed. Let's see if I can get it in focus here. Ace of Cups. I don't know why it doesn't focus. There we go. Ace of Cups. But it came up in the reverse form, so it was like this. So the Ace of Cups in the upright position makes me think of new relationships, new connections, new intuitive guidance coming through, really feeling connected. When it's in the reverse position, it's either that we're pushing something away and we're resisting it, or we're longing for something like that. There's something it's not there. So now I'm wondering, since things have been spinning pretty quickly in the sign of Aries, like if there's some people that are feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything that's going on, and now we're kind of like wanting to bring back that inspiration and that intuitive connectedness. Like we want to bring back that Ace of Cups feeling of stepping into new connections, new emotions, feeling held, feeling secure. So it's like a longing for what has already been there, and that's what it feels like is coming back around with this. So it's like maybe stepping back into the sign of Pisces for some of these personal planets, Mercury and Venus, maybe it will feel like we are supported and held again for a little while. You know, to be able to stand on our own feet and be strong and independent, which so much of the retrograde in the sign of Aries has been about standing for ourselves and our own desires and our own mindset. Very individualistic. And now moving back into the sign of Pisces, things slow down. They get to be a little more collective, a little more cumulative, and we feel more things at one time here. So that's what we have leading into the meditation for this week. I'm going to take just a couple deep breaths here just to kind of slow down and transition. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. Heading into a new era of Neptune in the sign of Aries. There are so many people that were not paying any attention to astrology when Neptune entered the sign of Pisces. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all come to it in our own time. It's very right on par for lots of people to discover and start using different practices like astrology while Neptune is in the sign of Pisces. But that's just to say that, like, how many people have not, like 13 years, so think of like anybody that's like 10, 11, 12, younger than that, they have not been alive with anything other than Neptune in the sign of Pisces, and there's many people that have not paid attention to what Neptune and any other signs feel like, look like, act like, things like that. So for a lot of people, this is a brand new energy, and we get comfortable when planets are in signs for so long, you know, like Pluto was in Capricorn for like 16 years, and we kind of get used to that energy, and we get used to that planet being in that sign and that house and those topics for us, and then it shifts, and it's like we're stepping into something totally new, something totally foreign, and it just kind of like rocks the boat for different people in different ways. So we're stepping into new energy, and we're stepping into new territory this week while revisiting energy that we've already visited here. So it's very interesting, and I think we have some unique opportunities of moving forward as well as revisiting and recalculating things at the same time here. So I'm going to leave the intention up for just one more moment for everybody to see here. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. I'm looking in the comments. Hey, Melissa, love in Pluto and Aquarius. Yes, it's here to stay too. All right, I'm going to take the intention down here. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. It's kind of a long one. I was trying to shift it a little bit, but that's just what it was. So we have our intentional candle here as always. It is white, and it has white sage oil in it. So there is a purity, a cleansing, and a blank slate here as we come into this meditation. As we come into these meditations once a week, I want you to be able to come into this meditation through the angle that I am providing, but I want you to be able to come at it wherever you are coming from within your life and within your own experiences and energy and things like that. So starting out with white, so that way there is a blank slate of starting something new, and you can change it to whatever color that you want to change it to if feels so called to. So I'm going to light our intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to recite the intentional phrase. As I recite the intention, I encourage you to say it with me in whatever capacity that you are able to. So I'm going to light the intentional candle. The flame's going to ignite, and as the flame ignites, it begins to grow. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. Reimagined focus initiates new configurations. Stepping into new territory, stepping back into comfort, reinvigorating and rediscovering the creative forces that are within each and every one of us this week. taking that to allow ourselves to initiate one last push in the sign of Aries as the solar eclipse comes through. If you haven't already, I invite you to find a nice comfortable seated position. If you're ready to go ahead and close your eyes and you haven't already done so, please feel free to. If you're not quite ready to close your eyes, I invite you to soften your gaze. Perhaps let your eyes fall down towards or past the tip of your nose, finding a place to look towards but not focus so intently on as we begin to settle into our space here. As we come into our meditative space, I'm just mentioning to make note that I have blue kyanite and amethyst here on the table tonight for guidance, clarity, intuition, and communication from whatever other realm you want communication from. So as we begin to enter our meditative space, I encourage you to turn your attention towards the breath. Here, let's make space for acknowledgement. Let's make space for honoring where the breath is at this moment. As your breath moves naturally in and out of your body, I want you to notice the way the breath moves. Not changing, not altering, attempting not to place any judgment, any labels of good, bad, productive, unproductive, sufficient, insufficient. Just noticing and acknowledging where your breath is at this moment. Noticing any changes that happen within your body as the inhale begins and you breathe fresh air into your lungs. Noticing how it feels at the top of the inhale before you begin to shift to the exhale. And notice how that exhale feels. Notice any tension that you feel within your body. Notice anything that may be releasing from your body. Just observing, acknowledging, and honoring where you are at this moment. We have a special opportunity to reconnect to Piscean energy that we will not see again this week. Mercury and Venus moving across Neptune in the sign of Pisces. If there is a time to turn inward, if there is a time to meditate, if there is a time to connect to whatever creative forces are within you, if there is a time to initiate a new connection or rekindle a fire that connects you to something higher than yourself, that time is now. And if talk of connecting to a higher source, to divine creator, or something beyond this physical vessel, then connecting intuitively can be simple as connecting to the gut instinct that's within you. Listening to those voices within your head that guide you day in and day out. Staying true and honoring yourself. that is intuitive guidance as well. Continuing to follow the breath in and out, inhaling and exhaling. Once you've taken some time to sit with your breath, to sit with and honor everything that has led up to this very moment, we now start to expand the inhale and the exhale, deepening that connection and focus within. Here I invite you to have a goal. Allow that goal to be that each inhale brings in slightly more air than the one that came before it. And conversely, on the exhales, allow your goal here to be that each exhale lasts slightly longer and releases slightly more air than the exhale that came before it. Slowly deepening and expanding the inhale and the exhale. Anytime that your mind wanders from the focus of the breath, gently call your attention back to the breath. Notice what you notice. Feel how it shifts. As we gather here live for our meditation, Mercury sits just 2 degrees away from the sun. Not quite to that moment of empowerment and enlightenment, but in a moment of struggle and limited sight and ability just before the moment of connection. It's as if Mercury is moving through the brightest landscape it's ever been in before. The light's so bright that it's difficult to see what's beyond, but Mercury keeps moving forward, knowing that the path brings us forward. And then as Mercury continues moving forward through the bright, blinding light, it finds itself in a spotlight where the light is shining down, illuminating Mercury fully and brightly. At the same time, the surroundings are illuminated perfectly so you can see everything that surrounds you very clearly. There are vibrant, bright lights. The coloring is the brightest you've ever seen before. And you feel the light shining down on you Mercury moving from the evening star phase to the morning star phase. From the older, wiser, has experienced phase into the more youthful, energetic, and initiatory phase. There is optimism, there is courage, there is bravery, and there is desire to move forward. Just then, Mercury contacts Pluto, empowering it even more, lifting it up, filling it up with a transformational energy that elevates our mind, our thoughts, our perceptions. After this empowering energy, Mercury and Venus both come into contact with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. The inspiration, the awe, the support, the creative energy that flows within the connection. A dreamy, romantic moment to savor and explore for the last time. Here at this moment, I ask you, what has been inspiring you lately? Where do you feel called to move, to act, to create, to do something different? What has been pulling on you? And now within this energy that has been attracting towards you, where do you feel that you need a little boost of inspiration? Where could you use a little extra creative oomph and intuitive connection? If the answer is nowhere, that's great. If there is some place that you could infuse a little more love, a little more romantic, dreamy ideation where we are dreaming and conjuring the most beautiful possibilities within our head before making them a reality. Sometimes in order to keep moving forward, we have to stop and allow ourselves to dream, connect, find something worth striving for. Now it's possible that the dreaminess and the romantic idealism that the conjunctions with Neptune creates could lead to a little bit of fogginess, a little bit of disillusion, maybe a little bit of letting our feet leave the ground and float above the grounded space. And at times, we can lose our footing and find ourselves in a floating space that is difficult to get out of. But sometimes It's just the space to take us out of our rational mind, to let go of our fears, and to move forward in ways that have been difficult at the moment. Maybe it allows us to see a different perspective, a different way to do about something, a way to get creative, and maybe even a little bit crafty within where our struggles have been. All of this leads to the solar eclipse, 9 degrees Aries. 9 Aries, we've heard that number a lot lately. At the point where Venus has turned retrograde, the point where Mercury has turned retrograde, right within those couple degrees. It's as if the shifting and changing of perspective and motion for our wants, desires, our mind, our thoughts, our perceptions, what we want and the way we communicate it. That review, that reconfiguration, making way for an initiatory energy in the sign of Aries. One last eclipse start for this cycle, initiating Neptune into Aries and reintroducing a Mercury and Venus that have went through a transformation. There are many different cycles that are converging together within the month of March here. Many different paths, many different ways, many different processes coming together. What a lovely time to be incarnate and to be participating in the human experience. What a lovely opportunity to feel, to experience, and to leave our mark on our small corner of the world. May this week leave you feeling inspired, leave you in awe of the support and the connections that come from every which direction. And may this week leave you feeling so inspired that you can initiate something with courage, bravery, and the ability to go forward without looking back. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for participating in this meditation, not only just today, but every Sunday, but especially as we enter these astrologically monumentous times. It really is something that you don't see very often, where all of the outer planets are shifting within such a short period of time. We can see it within our own lives. We can see it collectively within the communities and the populations that we are a part of. things are moving, things are shifting. Staying grounded, staying within our meditative practices, cultivating a relationship, cultivating a dialogue between ourselves and whatever the collective energy is, whatever God means, whatever the Creator means. I do know, but I also don't know at the same time. I know from my own experiences. I think now more than ever, it's good to just have our own practices and have our own processes that bring us through in things. There's guidance, there's contemplation, there is thoughtful meditation, there is prayer, there is community and communing with nature. There's so many different things that you can do to connect to that energy. These meditations are one of the things that help me connect to that energy in the whole process of coming to the intention, setting up for the meditation, the background stuff that I do on the computer for the technical things. Same thing with the weekly Outlook video. The process of going through, seeing where everything is, seeing how it all lines up, sitting with the energies, putting all of that together, releasing them week by week. All of it is there's a process to all of it. And the process, which really is a ritual, part of the process, is all part of it. So it's not just the moment here where we're doing live meditation. It's not just the moment where I'm recording the video. It's everything that comes before and after that serves my connection to that divine energy in a really, really great way. So that is why I extend so much gratitude and thankfulness to all of you, because I get all of that because you all come back to this, and we can keep doing this. So feeling extra thankful and some extra gratitude going around here. So I just hope that everybody knows that I love this meditation as much as I hope that all of you do. And I love the way that it's growing now and extending into more with the intention in the weekly video, and reaching more people commenting, and it's just really, really good. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Intention for this week makes me feel good. Reimagined focus, initiating new configurations. There are new processes happening for many people. There are shifts and changes. Been saying that, not the only one saying that. You can see it astrologically when you see that everything, all these planets are shifting within such a short period of time. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, magical week. I hope that you can connect, reconnect, find some sort of fire to kindle while feeling held and protected at the same time. Tending to the burning fire of our own soul and our own energy is very, very important too. So reminding us that with all of the Aries energy, it can be very easy to burn out. It can be very easy to get overheated, and we're getting a moment here to cool down as planets dip back into Pisces for a short little while. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. And I will see you here on meditation next week. Weekly video will be out next Saturday, as well as the intention. So I will see you all back next week, and I hope you all have a great week. So bye.